Good morning once again, and thank you for staying tuned to Sunrise at Sea right here on CTV. Welcome to the Twitter Jobs too. My name is Apollo Sarah once again, and today we are looking at Kenya's elections media tallies. And a lot of people have been asking the question, how come there are different results being shown on different media houses across the country, and also whereas here in Uganda? Well, joining me to give you more insight and more detail into this conversation is Mr. Arinitwe Rugendo, a veteran journalist and also a good friend of mine. I haven't seen you in a while. It's good to see you, sir.
Good to see you too, Sarah.
How are you?
Long.
Yes, it
I'm
has.
happy to see you again.
Yes.
Well, you used to be very thorough, so I'm not surprised that you are here.
Thank you so much. Well, a number of Kenyans still do not know who their next president will be, and more than 48 hours after they voted, and that was on 9th August 2022,
Correct.
On Tuesday. Well, it's causing a lot of them anxiety, and not just Kenyans, but the whole world. So I would like to know, what are your thoughts or what are your observations in regard to the Kenyan elections? Let's first start there.
Well, I think, first of all, Kenya has surprised, I think, the region.
Yes.
In terms of how they've managed to really run a smooth election.
Yes.
Largely peaceful. I really give it to the Kenyan Defense Forces and the police as well. And the discipline, it's kind of shocking.
Yes.
Given the fact that this is a country where about 1,200 people died due to election-related violence. Yes, some 2 elections backwards.
Yes, in 2007.
So I think, for me, that is the story of Kenya. They have emerged from that nonsense and are ready to lead the region in terms of running a perfect, smooth election.
Yes.
This is what I'm seeing. And then the other point is that the suspense now creates anxiety. It's creating anxiety in the fact that Kenyans are probably working so hard and hoping for some kind of change, of some sort, of some new president, or some new way of doing things.
Yes.
And then you keep them waiting. And for me, that is the problem. That's where the challenge is, and a bit of anxiety that's being created. And if it's not properly handled, I fear something might.
People might overreact.
Exactly.
Because they are under pressure.
Yes, there's quite a lot of pressure, Of course, according to their constitution, they have up to 7 days to declare the election results. But, that anxiety and knowing what Kenya is, I think it's better that the Electoral Commission, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, needs to, to have a sense of that and take charge of the situation.
Yes. All right. Well, after the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission, that is the IEBC, did go on to grant media and social civil organizations permission to set up their own parallel tallying centers that will collect and count results from their elections, or rather their voting. However, a number of Kenyans have expressed a lot of dissatisfaction and lack of confidence in the media houses. Some of them are accusing the media houses as using it as a water loop to, get people to watch. It's like clout chasing. Get people to watch, their TV stations, or rather watch their news so that they can up their ratings. Well, I would like to ask you, will the parallel tallying of results ensure transparency? Because that is what the IEBC says. This is why they were doing this, so that everybody and anybody who is interested can go and, pick the votes and count them themselves.
I think I agree with them. First of all, you see, a vibrant media is evidence of a perfect democracy, if I should say.
Yes.
You cannot have democracy, you cannot talk about democracy when you don't have a vibrant, free media.
Yes.
And this has been happening in perfect democracies, the ones they call perfect. You'll see media houses, declaring their own candidates. It has happened. For example, in the US, CNN will declare someone else, Fox will declare someone else. That multiplicity of space for people to express themselves, especially through media channels, is evidence of good democratic practice.
Yes.
Now, how people interpret what media are saying is a different matter. But also importantly, in in running those tallies as media houses, it is important that they are responsible. It is important that they report what exactly they are picking from the main tally center, which is the IEBC.
Yes.
And so for me, that is okay. And Kenya, I think, has led the way, because I've not seen this happen. In Uganda, it happened, and very many media houses that were running in these data centers had to be shut down.
Yes.
Because especially how that anxiety can create situations, and people start believing that what probably the Daily Monitor has said is what is the truth, or what CTV has said is the truth.
Yes.
So I think that also means that Kenya as a country, I think, have matured, to believe in institutions such as the media to sort of also run a narrative that runs alongside the IEBC.
Yes.
And the IEBC has been also very clear that they can take what the media is saying, but ultimately the only institution that's going to declare is IEBC.
Yes.
So, but you need to understand where Kenya is coming from, especially the Kenyan media. The Kenyan media is largely commercialized, highly commercialized, and actually I think in terms of the East African media pie, Kenya takes about 70%. So they are highly commercialized.
Then isn't that
so I wouldn't actually be surprised when you say that partly they are trying to look for the numbers.
Yes.
And that's very possible, especially in a commercialized environment. You need the numbers, you need the advertisers, to follow you. You need the followers, you need the audiences.
Yes.
And that would make me a bit uncomfortable if that is what is motivating the media in Kenya. Though I know that they have a largely responsible media, and they will take charge of this situation. And they were also, by the way, the media, you remember, they were largely responsible, blamed actually for the violence at the time.
Yes, in 2007.
There's been a lot of work towards streamlining media operations in that country, and I'm still hoping that is exactly what is inspiring them, and they're working under the auspices of a responsible media environment that is going to ensure that the country does not break up, does not just easily get excited.
All right. And do you think that is going to completely eradicate any accusations of rigging this time?
Yes, because one, the forms and the processes are clear. 3A, then 3AB or something.
Yes.
So those forms, the country knows that, what is declared at the polling station is now what is final.
Yes.
And it is the same that the IEBC is releasing slowly at the slow speed, which of course I'm blaming them for. And so the media are basically assisting IEBC. So I think the Kenyans have no reason not to believe what the media are saying. The point is that if they go into opinionating what they are receiving and relaying, that becomes a problem, because there at that point then you're trying to set your own agenda, which might mislead the country or might probably point them towards a peaceful direction.
Yes. All right. And what about your comments on them leaving their internet connection on, or social media connection on? Because for a number of Ugandans, this was, I think, a unicorn for them. It was very, and I'm using that as a metaphor because it was very surprising that the Kenyan government was not going to shut down social media. So do you think that was a smart move on their part?
I think it was, for me, I think the most, what I want to take out of that is that, first of all, of course, I'm surprised as well.
Yes.
But what I want to take out of that is that, you see, in Kenya, compared to Uganda, you have a situation where an incumbent is not running.
Yes.
He is working very, very hard to probably leave a legacy in place. He doesn't want to leave a chaotic country behind. And Kenya, compared to, I think, on the continent, Kenya is almost like number 2 or 3 after Nigeria and South Africa in terms of internet penetration and usage.
Yes.
So internet to Kenya is a very, very important aspect in their economic lives.
Yes.
Unlike Uganda here, some people here sheepishly actually don't understand that the internet is a tool for trade here in this country.
Yes.
And they just wake up and shut things down and compromise people's small businesses, especially the youth.
Yes.
So Kenya is a different matter. Kenya internet is like
it's
oxygen.
slightly dependent on the
it's just
economy.
oxygen.
Yes.
It's the economy.
Yes.
So you can't shut down the economy, and Kenya is the largest economy in this region, and so therefore you cannot just squeeze or risk running down the economy just because of an election. And there's no reason, because I think the election has been largely peaceful. So there's no reason for shutting it down. And like I've said, an incumbent is not running, so that would be in his own interest.
Yes.
Here in Uganda and other places, incumbents are still running. So sometimes, they just want to control things. Uhuru has nothing to control.
Yes.
He just wants to live a country that is well organized, that is respected internationally, that is that is vibrant economically, because it's done quite a lot economically, if you've been following, and you don't want to break that. So why the internet is not shut down, I think I've given you some reasons, and also to tell you the fact that Kenya, internet to them is a lifeline. It's an economic lifeline. It's what runs everything. It's a highly urbanized country, and internet is everything. In the other countries in the region, we are still grappling, trying to understand even social media. We've just people started understanding social media recently, about 2017 here in this country. Yes. And all of a sudden, somebody has followers. They become social media experts and influencers and stuff like that. Yes. They never understood these things. Me, I remember I joined social media in 2008.
Yes. And
we were always struggling, trying to explain to people in government about this phenomenon, but they never understood it. It's just recently, in 2016, 2017. Yes. But Kenya has been there for a very long time. So you'd look stupid in Kenya trying to play around with the internet.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So a number of people, a number of political analysts have termed Kenya's politics as mature politics. Yes. Would you agree with this?
I agree.
Absolutely, 100%, no doubt.
No doubt, no doubt. And it has actually, I think, matured recently. And from a history, basically. This is from a history. They had a bad history, really, electoral history.
Yes.
It was always violent during Moi's time, and then, of course, this time during Kibaki and stuff. But I think when they sat down to do some soul searching,
yes,
and rework their constitution, how they appoint the chairman of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission,
yes,
how they appoint the Chief Justice, how they appoint their Inspector General of Police, it's quite different.
And also how they pick their vice presidents.
Yes.
Yes.
And of course, they have term limits. And so, in countries where you have term limits, there is certainty. There's certainty. So sometimes you'll say, no, after all, this guy has served his 2 terms. Let's just have a smooth process and move on. After all, whoever comes, it's a new dispensation. So you don't create uncertainty all the time. And so they have matured, in my view. And partly because of the economy. They have something to protect. They have something at stake.
Yes.
Everybody in Kenya largely is invested in the economy.
Yes.
Apart from some of these agrarian countries in the region. But Kenya, everyone is invested in the economy, and so it is important that they mature politically to be able to protect the economy.
Exactly.
This is what we call in academia, the theory of political economy.
Yes.
You must ensure that those who take decisions take them in the interest of protecting the social structure, social values, cultural values, and distribution of goods and services, trade, and all this. It ties into political decision making and processes that ensure that you have a smooth way of doing things in order to protect the ultimate, which is the economy. People survive because they have trade. People have to survive because they have to earn a living, and so you must make sure that you have clean politics to be able to protect the economy. Here in Uganda and in other similar countries, we're still struggling with that situation. We are yet to marry economics and politics. We don't understand that politics is important for the economy and vice versa, as well as security.
Yes.
So we will have to learn from them, in my view.
All right. I will be asking what lessons Uganda can take, or rather learn, from the Kenyan elections that did take place early this week. But before I get to that question, I would like to ask you this. In regard to the role of foreign media, do you think that they have done the Kenyan elections justice? Have they done justice to the electoral process so far? Because some people think that it is too early to credit them for maturity, but they want to wait and see how they will take in the results, the final results, when a president has been declared. That is when people say that is when we can properly gauge their maturity in politics. What are your thoughts on that?
I think as media, you need to understand one thing. Media report news, what has happened.
Yes.
That's what it is. If it has not happened, they will not report it. Probably they can interpret a situation depending on what is obtaining.
Yes.
And so far, Kenya has demonstrated that they are running a fairly smooth election, peaceful election. And so people who expect foreign media or even local media to report doom and stuff, probably are disappointed.
Yes.
Or predicted doom because of what happened before,
yes,
are quite disappointed. But my worry, like I said, is that this snail pace of releasing electoral results and allowing suspense to take center stage,
yes,
and then to also let intensity, set in, might now start touching off a few ideas around media houses on the globe to start interpreting this election differently. And
yes,
and for me, that's what I meant, that the IEBC must now begin to take charge of the situation, of the mood, because people are highly invested in this election.
That is important.
And,
yes.
And I've seen and read that a real and possibly is being seen as an option.
Yes.
And that means that the stakes are high, and so therefore, if anybody messes up just slightly, we might slide into some kind of unexpected violence.
All right.
And that then will mean then the media will have to rethink what they are interpreting in terms of saying that the country has matured.
Yes, and just to give you more context on that, to win the presidential race in Kenya, a candidate must receive more than 50% of the vote and 25% at least in 24 counties out of the country's 47 counties. And if no candidate meets that goal, the electoral commission, I beg your pardon, will schedule a runoff. Now let's talk about the lessons Uganda can learn from it, because our last presidential elections were very violent, and even probably the ones before. We have never had a smooth running of presidential elections. So what can we learn from it? Because it seems that we haven't yet learned from our previous mistakes or unfortunate circumstances that have come out of presidential elections.
The first lesson for me is that change of government. You see that it is possible to have a smooth change of government. For me, that's the lesson I'm seeing from Kenya, because quite often they've run their terms out and ensured that another dispensation is in place. So we got to learn from that, because we've not had a change of government in the last 36 years or even more.
Yes. And
that is important to a country's security, a country's socio-economic development. People must be certain of their future. Kenyans are certain of their political and economic future. Ugandans, there's that semblance, that thinking that, because it's difficult to change the current system and probably try some other new leaders. So that's uncertainty, and that's, I think, what brings violence in our elections here. And which is the second lesson now, that you don't need to be violent to change a government.
Yes.
You don't need to. Once you have faith in the institutions of the country, especially the judiciary and the security forces, as well as the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission.
Yes.
Once you have faith in those, it is possible to have a peaceful, violent-free election.
Yes.
What happens here is that the people, especially the opposition, have refused to trust in some of these institutions. They think President Museveni controls them. Maybe he does because of a history that we've gone through. But we need to begin to see a system in place that restores confidence, people's confidence in these institutions. So then they don't have to resort to other means to be able to access state power.
Yes.
And so these are the lessons we have to pick from Kenya. The other one is that is the economic one. And for me, this is what excites me most. You know that Kenyans tend to believe that yes, we can fight economically, but no, politically. But as long as we leave our economy alone, leave it alone, and we tussle it out politically, but the economy must be protected.
Yes.
Now here is different. Someone just wakes up, smashes a government vehicle just because he doesn't agree with Museveni, but that's a property
of the state,
of the government,
yes.
of the country.
Yes.
You want to burn down a building, but you are burning down the country. This is not what we see in Kenya. The other one is, of course, that like Kenyan politics. Did you see that video of the two contending supporters greeting each other?
Yes.
When they were,
Yeah, fist bumping. Yes.
Fist bumping each other.
Yes.
That it's like the Kenyan election this time looked like a league match. A football league match. You fight, somebody scores, and another one loses. You shake hands and move on. Yes. Big lesson. To me, very huge lesson. Yeah. And lastly, the media, of course, the media coverage. They've sophisticated. They've upped their ante. They have a number of good equipment, and they are able to report timely the story and give it perspective, and in a very, very organized way. I think the media is very organized up to now. We can learn a few lessons from
Absolutely. Yeah. That is very impressive, because watching the elections, it's something to envy.
Absolutely.
It's absolutely something to envy, and I hope that our next presidential election...
And I think for me, really, whichever way this election goes, I think Uhuru has really done very well. He's left, a legacy.
Gone out in style.
Absolutely, he's gone out in style. He's just going to, retire and enjoy his Tusker, and that's all.
Exactly. And also that handshake in 2018 when he had with Mr. Raila Odinga,
Absolutely.
that took the whole world by surprise, because everybody was like, oh my goodness.
There is a similar handshake that happened recently here, of course, which with Norbert Mao.
Yes.
And I think I see people just taking it the way they want, but there's something huge there. And if we proceed on that direction, the Mao way, I think we are moving towards some sort of kind of political reconciliation and agreement on what is the common agenda for the country. What is our common goal? The moment we agree on that, the national interest, we have potential to be ahead of Kenya. It's very possible. We just don't agree on the national interest. Yes.
So I would like to ask you, and this is a bit of a tricky question, or rather risky question, if I may say. Looking at the two front runners, that is Mr. Raila Odinga and Mr. Ruto William, who do you think, in regard to your predictions, if you were to predict, who do you think is most likely to win?
My prediction is Ruto.
How so?
Because Kenya seems to be moving away from dynastic politics. And this is a huge lesson actually to the region. And And because the dynastic politics in Kenya is a political economy arrangement.
Yes.
You realize that, for example, the family, the Kenyatta family and the Odinga family are business partners in very many things. They control a lot of
trade.
They trade together.
Yes.
They control the milk belt.
Yes.
They control I think the tire belt. There's quite a lot of things that they control right from Mombasa, and it's like as if, you know, they sat down and say, you know, we can this only back somebody who can do business with, or who's going to protect our businesses.
Yes.
Ruto is from this other direction, trying to offset the balance or the status quo.
Yes.
And for me, I like people like that.
Yes.
You know, who have this tendency to offset the status quo in a way that is authentic, that is pro people, that has a sort of strugglist, underdog, grass to grace kind of process.
Yes.
You get it? And that is, for me, why I think Ruto really is a force to reckon with. I don't know whether he will win, but that's my prediction. But my other prediction is that I think because of the interest, the stakeholder interest in terms of how the dynasties are heavily invested in this election.
Yes.
I can see us moving, no, not us, them.
Yes. Because when they move, we are moving.
We are moving together. Because we've tightened our security at the border, so we invested in this. We are East Africa, so I see a possible rerun. Yeah.
All right. Could you say that Ruto is more like Mr. William Ruto is more likely to win because, like you said, he always brags of his rags to riches story, and like you said, he's more appealing to the youth.
Yes.
Do you think he's going to win because he's more appealing to youth?
Yes.
And the youth do constitute more of the bigger
absolutely.
population.
And if you go to Kenya, let me tell you, there's quite a lot of people who resonate with that story. First of all, Kenya was a settler economy.
Yes.
And during the colonial times. And when they moved out, you know, more or less like this situation did not change.
Yes.
The people who are landed, the people who have land, who are controlling most of the economy, is a clique cartel of people, you know, that even heavily invested with the British and stuff like that. So the majority of Kenyans, if you really went to Kenya, you'd see, especially during the evenings in Nairobi, you see how people walk on foot going back home. It's the same situation I've started seeing around here in Kampala.
Yes, there are some streets that have been gazetted for pedestrians, just only walking.
Yes, but you see,
when
you ask around, who of these people owns anything? Actually, the situation in Uganda is quite different. People here own their plots, you know, they have houses or they have structures somewhere in all these townships. Yes. But in Kenya, it's different. Guys don't own anything. They don't own their country. And these are the wretched of the earth who have been closed out of the system that is run by some of these fellows. And so these are the people now whose story resonates with that of Ruto.
William Ruto.
And previously, Raila was their face, but he's also part of them, part of the
dynasty politics.
Yes, and the bourgeoisie, I should say. But this one, much as he's also stinking and filthy rich, his story is sort of real and he's still youthful. So you really understand if you are dealing with a youthful population who believe that they own the future. Yes. They would want to move with somebody like that who's aged 55, not 77.
Yes.
And for me, that is where a possible Ruto win is possible.
Yes. All right. Thank you so much. But before I let you go, your parting shots to the viewer, Mr. Rugendo.
Okay. I'm happy to be here, first of all. This is my first time.
Yes.
Beautiful studio and television.
You.
And my parting shot is that as a country, there are lessons we can pick from Kenya to be able to improve the quality of our elections here, and that it is possible to change government without resorting to violence.
Yes.
and let's keep watching and peaceful. And should anything happen in Kenya and people have to move, let's welcome them because we're a welcoming country. We did last time. We welcomed them in, and this, you know, those who are fleeing, they went into Tororo. But we hope that nothing like this will happen.
Yes. And
we pray for Kenyans to have a peaceful transition.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Rugendo. And he's a veteran journalist. He was here to give us more insight into the Kenyan elections media tallying and an overview of the Kenyan elections. That's all I had for you on this segment of the Twitter Jabs. But keep on watching Sunrise at Sea because coming up is our lifestyle segment. It's hit or miss. Stay tuned.